How every morning starts. Cup of coffee. And away we go. Hope you enjoy the video. Well, today is Thursday, May the 18th, which means I have about 2 weeks to get this thing together and running. A few interesting fun facts to know and tell. Along with this, I've also sold the property. We have to be out of the house by the 19th of June. We have to be off the property by the 30th. I have 5 acres out here, so we're purchasing a big motor home, a bunch of slide outs. We actually have a neighbor that's going to allow us to stay at his barn where he has a power and well until we get situated. So today I'm going to work on the pedals and assembly so I can get the master cylinder mounted and all that good stuff. Final mount the gas pedal. I'm going to clean all this stuff out of the back, try and get this back hatch fixed and done so that I'm ready for the fuel system, and keep on plugging away. We've got a bunch of the interior trim first coat painted, so I'm going to take that out first while the wind's not blowing, try and get a good coat on all of it so it matches the dashboard, and away we go. So stick with me, we're getting closer every day. So just kind of getting a final spray on all of these. We'll get them sprayed up and we'll put them in the sun to dry. If you aren't old enough to know the words to that song, well, some of you will remember it. It's called the Wildwood Weed. It was done by Jim Stafford years ago. So check it out. Pretty cool old song. And when you think about legalized marijuana today, all of a sudden the song makes a lot of sense back in our era. Listen to that old man talk. Well, the reality is I'm kind of a dumbass because I don't feel old and I refuse to sit in a chair and let it take over my life. So, as I said, we sold our property. I've still got another house to build. I'll be 66 in a couple months, and still planning on swinging that bat for a ways longer. Unless I slide out on my ass before I get everything done, we'll just keep doing it until we can't do it no more. Got a few things I want to say this morning. As I said, it's Thursday, May the 18th. Number one, HP tuners, thank you so much. I had some buddies come by from the power tour the other day, and we're all wearing your t-shirts from what, last year, the year before. I have the black ones that you gave out last year. These are from 2021. I wear them every day for working. The gray ones are better because out in the sunshine they aren't quite as hot. All the guys that are getting ready for the power tour, I understand your pain. And if you're doing YouTube videos, the only way we get out there and get noticed, guys, is to click that like button. Go over there and click subscribe. More people get to see us doing stupid things. And let's face it, I can't afford to buy magic cool hot rods if you guys aren't liking and subscribing. Not like I expect to anyway, but give me a like if you would. Give me a comment. Let me know what's going on. Click subscribe if you want to keep seeing this silliness, and we'll keep on doing whatever we can to do it. You're going to be along for the ride on the power tour. You're going to be along for the ride on the new property in Tennessee, maybe in Georgia, not sure. And we're going to have a lot of fun here. So stick with us. Away we go again. So today, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start on the clutch and brake pedals. I've got the gas pedal here that I have to finish drilling and mounting. That's out of a OSB, that's plywood, OBS Chevy pickup, because it's set up with a cable, which I like more than mechanical linkage. And it just happened to fit right where I need it to fit. So that's going to go right up there. And my clutch and brake pedal, I have pretty much locked in place. I have to drill a couple holes, put a couple bolts in, and then I can start doing my master cylinder and all. So we're going to do that first. Then I'm going to go ahead, and after that's done, I'm going to seam seal the floor and start working on something else. So come on along for the ride. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to confirm that things haven't moved, and they have not. So we're going to go ahead and set it right there. In order to mark the holes, I'm just going to give her a little Now, on paper, I should be able to find those holes. The problem with that is, did I get straight on them? So, the next best thing, if it's possible, is figure out this clip. I think I can fairly easily. I get a little screwdriver. All right, so I found something. Basically, the way this works is this goes out, and once it's out, then you can push it past. And if you're lucky, it'll come right off. Kind of a magic clip here. I don't know if you could see that. You gotta be careful with those. It's not like you can run down to the store and buy one. All right, now the only question is, will it come out? I'll pull the emergency brake lever out and then try and get this out without moving everything. Kind of glad I did. There's not a stitch of grease or anything in there. So we'll grease that up before we put it back in. And I also want to straighten the pedals. So now I'm going to get my little level, and we're going to check it for level just to confirm that she's pretty square. It look pretty silly if everything's crooked. Well, there's really no flat surface to check. I'm going to check up there maybe. Let's get this back out of here, because that is going to poke me right in the nose. And in case you haven't noticed, I got some nose to poke. And there is a flat spot up there, so let's see if we can get that up there. It's 1 degree. All right, crash. That's how equipment gets broke. So can we just tap this? Let's try and do this again without it dropping. I'd say that's pretty good. Come on, you gotta get it on the flat right there. What do you think? Should I go for 0? Yeah, what the heck. We've gone this far. There we go. Okay, that's close enough for the girls we go with, eh? 1/10 of a degree, maybe a 100th of a degree. That's where we're going. All right. So we'll drill some holes. All right, another unboxing of parts that I have purchased. This is the brake lines for the calipers and this is the proportioning valve assembly that came with it, but being as I decided to go with disc brakes in the back, I can't use it. The original brake rod off of the Chrysler to use again. Chrome master cylinder. Chrome master cylinder. And if I can get the box closed, this is a chrome brake booster. So, of course, as with everything, we have dilemmas. These are the brackets that I cut off of the old brake booster. And the problem with the old brake booster compared to the new brake booster, well, they'll bolt on the new brake booster. More chromey bits. The problem is, they'll bolt on here, but these don't match up to the holes. So there's an easy fix. The fix is I'm going to notch the bottom, if that's the proper place for it, which I'll check in a minute, or notch the top, and I will weld the bolt to that. That way it can't come loose, right? Anyway, it sounds good on paper, so we'll continue on for a minute and I'll get back with you. Okay, so here's what we've got. I grabbed a couple of the nuts. I have a couple of the bolts. I'll send the bolt through this way. Basically what we're checking is rod geometry. Well, first off, you gotta turn the bracket so it's right side up. So let's do that. This will go here. So basically what we're looking for is we want this rod centered in this hole and aiming for the brake pedals correctly. So I'm going to go ahead and slide the pedals back in. Of course, I'll have to take this apart a couple more times because I'm really not happy with the way that lubes or it moves. It definitely needs something. We're going to want to make this move a little more free. Okay, you just got to be smart in what you're working with. Come on. Well, okay. That's not wanting to play. Let's get some glasses on and look down in there and see why. Because you're that much off center. Tight fit. There we go. There we go. All right, so that's the first of a few times. So now, as you can see, this is going to be aiming up. I hope you can see that. So, there are a set of slots, but the slots go up as well. So what I'm going to have to do is check compared to the rod. Remember our rod. Figure out about where the pedal is going to hang. Which is just about like that. The pedal will be up like this. Well, I believe I've got enough. So, the whole trick is bolt the top, put bolts on the bottom. Now that we know, I don't have much choice except for to just do it. So, I'll go ahead and tighten those two up. I'm going to slot the bottom. I will bolt it together, tack those two bolts, then pull it apart and weld them. That's the plan. So, we need to have this mounted here, though, obviously, so that I have the width correct. So it all kind of falls into place together. So, let's do all of that, and then we'll get back with you, and we'll see if it'll all fit in the car. It's rather important, too. Now, I do have one more alternative in the event that this is a massive fail, and that's to go to straight manual brakes. Do I want to do that? Heck no. I want this a cruiser. I've got AC for it. I want power brakes. In the event that the power brakes if the cam doesn't make enough vacuum, we have an answer for that as well. All right, so in the words of Arnold, I'll be back. So in the interest of safety, I'm doing a little modifying here. How this thing ever stopped, I'll never know. The guy that built this car did some interesting body work, but he also had the brake rod brazed into the end of a fitting, and as you can see, it wasn't much. I'm amazed that it didn't break. So what I'm doing, I have the piece. I don't know if you can see this. No, you can't. That's the piece he had it brazed to, and it was flat as flat. That is steel. The other end is threaded for the other piece with the eye that goes on the brake pedal. But that's all he had brazed. It was literally brazed right on the end. If he'd have ever had to hammer on the brakes, it would have been trouble. As I look in the hole, which you won't be able to see, the hole just goes in there and stops, and the rest of this is solid. So apparently at one time it had another lug on the end, or the rod went right to the master. So I'm going to chuck it up. I'm going to magically hold it, and I'm going to drill a hole, and I'm going to tap it for the other end so that both ends thread into it and I can lock them in place. That's the plan. So here we go. All right, last video of the floor pans. They are in, seam sealed, and bed lined. So now it's time for Dynamat. And as far as the engine fuel system bucket for the truck, it is ready to go too. I've still got some more seam sealing to do and a little more cleaning up, but she's about done too. So that's it for this. Next is fuel system and brakes. And oh, I did get the master cylinder mounted, the pedals assembled. So there's that part. Onward and upward. Well, it's Monday morning, and mistakes were made the other day, so we've got to change everything. What I did was, I had the brackets too high this way, so that the upper radiator hose there would not clear my angle iron. So I've jacked it back up with a floor jack, tilted it to where everything clears. I've cut the brackets off below here, and now I'm going to cut a couple pieces of metal to attach that back to the frame rails. So we'll do that, and then we'll go to do some welding. Plan today is to get the radiator mounted, then I'll remove the radiator, weld the bracket in the rest of the way, hang the condenser for the air conditioner in front of it, and then I'm going to goop the windshield in. I may even, it's going to take some guts, cut the hole out on the hood. I'm scared, I'm saying it. Only got one hood. Okay, so what I'm doing is, I'm cutting a piece of flat bar here. And one is going to be for each side to hold the bottom radiator support. Now, I don't have a whole lot of fancy stuff, and I'm not getting into crazy measurements, but what I needed was a 90-degree angle. So I'm using a spark plug box. But I want them both to be the same cut on the V there. So, well, it's real simple. I don't know if you can see that, but I put a little pen mark right below that barcode on that side. Put a little pen mark on that side in the gray right there. And all I do is line those marks up. And when I line those marks up, I'll have the same angle every time. Simple stuff, but we overlook it with these new modern CNCs and plasma cutters that run by computer. Sometimes you just gotta go old school. Well, starting off the day properly, I've already cut my hand open, but I did get some tacks in. And you can start to see how it's going to work. I'm going to weld it to the frame there, weld it to the angle iron there that I've already set up for the radiator support. Same thing over here. I'll probably take that little tag off before I paint it. And then it will saddle between there and up here, where I'm going to use 4 of these good old stainless steel clamps to hold the radiator at the top. And keep in mind, gravity holds it down. This will hold it from moving in and out this way, and it won't go anywhere. And the other neat thing about that is the condenser will hang off the exact same bracket, but be straight up and down. So it will pull most of its air from up here. This will pull a lot of its air from down there. So we should get some better heat exchanging between both of them without taking all of the air heat from the condenser and running it through the radiator and trying to keep everything cool. Will it work? I certainly hope so. So as we had talked the other day about this radiator not having anything to mount to, basically what I did was I made a channel out of angle iron. And then this is a real high density foam. You'll recognize it as anti-fatigue mat. You put them all together somewhere in the kitchen or in the shop or wherever, and it's supposed to be more comfortable for your feet, which it is. It's also a really high density foam, so as you squeeze it, obviously it's soft, but it's not mushy. So what I did was, let's see if I can do this in one fell swoop here, make it easy on you to see. I cut a piece of it and I glued it to the bottom. So it's glued to the bottom. Then I cut another strip, I glued it across the back, and I cut that strip in half. And I cut it in half because I need a little bit of cushion there and a little bit of cushion out there on the angle iron. So by cutting it in half, my width is just about perfect. Remember, the radiator is going to sit on this piece, gravity pushing down, and then the foam keeps it from shaking in and out. So that way I have cushion, I protect the aluminum, and don't forget too that aluminum expands, so you can't use something really solid. Well, I guess you could, but I'm not gonna. And then that will cradle the ends of the radiator on the tank, so it'll cradle on the tank end, but it'll also distribute a little bit of the weight all along this edge here. but it can't cut into it because of the tanks on the end. So that's the plan. If my plan works, it'll make it the whole trip without poking a hole in the radiator. If not, well, we're going to be trying that magic soldering stuff that they do on the Pepsi cans in the commercials that everybody buys at the flea markets, and then they figure out when they get home that they can't make it do the same thing. Onward and upward. Well, there it is. It's not a lot of airspace in between because I've got to make this slightly at an angle to clear the fan. But there's a couple 3 inches at the bottom there. Well, you can see it. But there is some airspace, so maybe it'll help. But that's basically how it's all going to work. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up the bottom brackets on the condenser, and then I'm going to move on to something else because I got a lot to do yet. Okay, so we've started laying the condenser in more permanent, and I've come up with a bracket assembly here. What I've done is insulated it against the condenser itself over here, and then I'm going to pull it out just a little bit and weld it right in place right there. So I'll go ahead and make both of those, and then we'll weld that in. We're going to go ahead and start doing a little plumbing on the air conditioner because I don't want to put the radiator in and then have to fight putting the hoses on the condenser. So there we go. Oh boy. So here you go. She's in place. We got our mounts mounted. You can see that right there. Right there. Welded up. Screwed in place. Double nutted. It is solid, but it is mounted in rubber cushions. So it should be fine. We'll see.